Let me start now to delve into the solutions.
Yes.
What is the EFF going to do about load shedding? Exactly how are you going to stop load shedding?
So to understand the situation of electricity in South Africa, one is that we must understand the situation of electricity in South Africa. So South Africa has got access to 54,000 megawatts of installed electricity capacity. So 54,000 megawatts is 54 gigawatts. That is just like the number that is got to be. And primarily the 80% of that comes from coal, where the whole coal combustion process is turned into electricity. A larger component of it coming from Mpumalanga and Limpopo province, because that is where the coal reserves are and the power stations are to produce electricity. And then there's another component of electricity that comes from nuclear. There's a nuclear power station called Koeberg in the Western Cape, which produces almost 2,000 megawatts of electricity in South Africa. But also we're taking electricity from a hydroelectric power station called Cabora Bassa, which is in Mozambique. From 1975 this way, we've had high voltage power transmission lines from Mozambique bringing electricity into South Africa as part of the pool which South Africa has for electricity generation. The reason why we've got load shedding in South Africa today is because the coal power stations are not optimally functioning. They're not working to full capacity to generate the necessary electricity that is needed for all households and businesses and industry and public institutions to have dependable electricity. And the reasons why they are not fully functioning is because, one, there are internal maintenance issues in Eskom which are not being handled properly, but two, Eskom has been operating on a policy framework that seeks to disable or to disintegrate the coal power stations with the view that they are going to transit towards the renewable energy sector, where you're going to get electricity from the wind, or you're going to harvest the sun, with the hope that such is going to provide high voltage, dependable electricity for everyone else there. And that policy direction has dismally failed. It has resulted in us having load shedding because without the base load electricity, which is coal, you cannot rely on the intermittent energy sources such as wind and solar as a basis for electrification of the entire country. And that is where we are now, that we have got a government that has purposefully neglected the base load of our electricity. And that is why we then say as the EFF that one of the things which we are going to unapologetically do is to focus our maximal attention on optimal functioning of coal power stations. All of them.
So,
and unapologetically
in
so.
essence,
Yes.
there is a problem of electricity in South Africa because government has been trying to decommission
Yes.
the power stations that are generating electricity from coal.
They've been decommissioning, but also they've not been maintaining them. The ones that are still functioning are not maintained in a manner that will optimally function. So let's say
the idea is to abandon them.
The idea is to abandon them and not work on them. So let's say a power station has got a potential.
Somebody arrived here in South Africa and said, your coal is bad for the environment.
Yes.
Leave it. Get electricity from the sun and the wind.
Yes.
And the truth from where this person came from is that the wind and the sun have not been able to actually support industrial economies.
Yes.
They are not able to.
Like, do you know the wind and the sun, particularly the sun, there is a lot of questionable science around what it can do to electrify industry and mining. Like, so when you try to plug electricity that comes from solar sources into high voltage power transmission lines, it doesn't arrive at the destination. So as an off-grid solution where you put a solar panel at your home, you charge batteries, or you put in a hospital and all of those, that can be impactful unless if you have got huge battery storage capacity to could pump the electricity into the grid in a much more sustainable way. And we do not have that now. And that is why a lot of the solar farms and the solar sources of energy are not giving dependable electricity to the grid
They seem to
that
also
can
be
then be able
expensive.
to. They're very, very expensive.
Electricity generated out of the
Like,
sun
it's way too expensive.
is much more expensive per
the
unit.
policy and then the manner in which the policy environment has been shaped in South Africa is such that Eskom is compelled to pay those sources of electricity because they are the sole monopoly transmission company in South Africa that has got high voltage transmission of the entirety of electricity in South Africa.
So how will you get into government on the 30th of May?
Yes.
What